Welcome to She Sells Radio. This is the third, completely unscripted episode I have recorded this week, and I'm really having fun with it. And by recorded this week, I mean I'm literally recording them all right now this afternoon, and it's so much fun. And I am enjoying the freedom of it. And I don't know if it'll be good for downloads or terrible for downloads. It doesn't really matter. But people always are like, what's the template you use and the script you use? And I usually have some sort of an outline on the podcast of here's at least one good point I want to make sure to get you. And I don't have that for you today, but I think it's still going to be good. And so I do know the theme for today, which is about what story are you telling? What story are you telling? And this is inspired by, I swear, I don't think I can get through one podcast episode without giving a shout out to my boy, Joe Dispenza. So this is inspired by his quote. He says, "You're either being defined by a vision of your future or the memories of your past." So if you're ever like, what is Elise up to early in the morning? These days I'm out on the porch because we've got this really nice new screened porch at the place that we're living. It's finally cool outside in the morning. So I'm cuddled up and we've got this fleece Snoopy blanket that Jason bought me years ago that I really love. It looks terrible from a decor standpoint in our house. It's usually in the ottoman tucked away, but I pull it out every morning and it's warm and it's happy and it's cute. And I'm cuddled up in the Snoopy blanket. And I'm usually studying Joe Dispenza's stuff early in the morning, drinking my coffee. So that's the morning routine over here. But so, I was really thinking about this week of noticing in my own life too, when am I telling an old story? When am I recycling? And this can be either just thoughts or this can be rehashing, actually talking about it out loud, old stories of things that I don't want to repeat or of things that still feel somewhat emotionally charged or challenges. And it requires such a great level of will and discipline sometimes to not go back and want to rehash the past. And I get it. Literally the way our brains work, the way our bodies work, we get emotionally addicted to these, we get addicted to these old emotions of victimhood, guilt, blame, suffering, whatever. And then we form neural pathways in our brains that you have one thought about one person who wronged you a while back. And then before you know it, you've got 18 thoughts like that are you're on a loop, you're in a program, right? And the body's getting that hit of cortisol and adrenaline that it gets when you're thinking about the old stuff that fires you up and it makes you upset. So it's very addictive. It really is actually biologically, chemically addictive to keep telling the same old stories. But here's what happens when we do that is we end up repeating them or we relive them at the very least in our minds. If not, because what you focus on expands and you will continue to experience whatever you focus on, repeating similar situation after similar situation after similar situation in your own life. And this is why most people get up and they can they run life on autopilot. You have it's Groundhog Day, right? The same thing happening every day. This is why, for the most part, people have the same sales and income results every year because they just keep rehashing the old, keep rehashing the old, keep rehashing the old. And it gets into this loop. And this is it's not just what are you saying out loud? Because you may say, oh, I'm not a complainer. I really watch my words, yada, yada, which is great. But do you find yourself thinking about the same things over and over again that have happened to you in the past? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and it's your brain automatically goes to this situation or this problem or this circumstance, or it's we just get stuck on these loops? That's continuing to tell a story of the past. And so this is where it gets when you're really creating a new reality for yourself. And that can be in whatever realm you want: financial, career, life, family. When you're really creating that new reality, it feels awkward because if you're going to do it the most powerful way, you're going to speak it into existence before it happens. So you're going to be speaking out loud and thinking about what you want to create before it has happened. And this is where most people will go off the rails, or they'll stop, or they'll say, well, that doesn't make any sense to speak about my future as if it's already happened. Well, if you study the neuroscience of it, if you study the subconscious mind, anything that follows after the words I am, it is a direct command to your subconscious mind to make that your reality. So whatever you continue saying, I am. I was on a client call today with a wonderful client, and one of the things she's working on is stopping saying like, I'm overwhelmed or I'm spread thin. So it's like every time she says that, even though it may feel that way, she's repeating to her subconscious mind that that's her reality, and to give her more situations that make her feel that way, reaffirming that old personality. And so when I think about in my own life, like when I've really quantum leaped, and it's not that it's perfect the whole time. Like in my experience has been in any sort of quantum leap, there's still days that feel really hard. And there's still days where you slip up, and there's still days where you fall back into old patterns. And sometimes there's longer chunks of time. And when there's longer chunks of time, it delays the thing longer. It's not that it's never going to happen. It's just, you're delaying it longer. We'll just call it that. But sometimes it's just like an hour or two, or whatever, of kind of falling off the horse. But when I'm really powerfully manifesting a next level in my life, it's this like dance of it's the acting as if. It's acting as if, and it's thinking, what's the story I want to tell? By this time, 6 months from now or 3 months from now, what story do I want to be able to tell, to say that happened? And then every time my brain goes back to that person who wronged me, back to that situation that felt hard, back to whatever, lack, scarcity, yada, yada, literally noticing in the moment when you want to go back there, absolutely not fueling it with your words. So if you want to stop yourself from creating a powerful future, go tell someone about someone who wronged you. Go tell someone your victim or blame story. Go tell someone, like, you will add fuel and energy to it for sure by talking about your past that you don't want to recreate with other people. Now, I'm not saying that there's not space for therapy. There's not space for healing. There 100% is. I'm a big proponent of it. I do inner child healing with my own clients. So it's not that there's not time and space. But when we've done the work, and when we've gotten the lessons and we've gotten the healing, when we choose to keep going back and rehashing it and reliving it again and again and again, staying stuck there, and then talking with other people about it and relating to other people on that same emotional level, you're going to create more of the same in your future. Your future will be your past. So it takes a great level of discipline to be able to start to think your future into reality. So thinking, this is kind of how I play with it. Like, now that this has happened, so right now I've got a big thing I'm creating in the company, and I'm excited. Honestly, it feels scary in a good way. It's like stretchy and scary in a good way, but it's actually started to happen. It's been a vision for, ever since I launched the brand. It's been a vision, and now it's like, okay, it's really here and it's go time. And when the small version of me gets, feels overwhelmed or feels scared, it's like, no, now that this is done, like, since this has happened, what does that version of me who has this reality, what does she do? Like, what do I need to put in place to support this project? What are the hires I need to make? What are the strategic team I need to bring on, et cetera, et cetera. So not from that place of like, ooh, is this going to happen, or can I handle it? Kind of like if you listen to, I don't know what episode it was, a few episodes ago, where I said failure is not an option, and really making that your mindset. Like, since this is what's happening, and since I am claiming this, what am I thinking about right now? It's the same thing with money, right? This is how you can really start to powerfully shift some energy around money. Rather than thinking about how you're going to get the money, think about, now that you have the money, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to invest it? This is something I play with all the time. Like, now that these bigger amounts are in my life, what do I need to know about investing? What do I need to know about managing it? And then literally writing out, okay, so I need to do, take this course, follow this speaker, read this book, do this resource, yada, yada. And it's really stepping into that energy of, this is already done. So since this is already done, like, who am I? And how am I spending my time? And what am I thinking? And what am I talking about? You will feel like you're acting, but it's the whole concept of acting as if. You must embody it before it becomes your reality. If you're serious about the quantum leap, right? There's two different ways we can create what we want. One is the slow, hard push, hustle, force. And can you get where you want to go with that? Yes. Is it going to take a really long time and a lot of effort and a lot of overwhelm, exhaustion, burnout? Yes. So I've done it that way. I don't like doing it that way. I didn't know there was another way though. And so if that is the only way, maybe you're listening to this podcast for the first time, or maybe you're not familiar with it. You haven't had that experience yet of things happening in a far easier manner. There is a totally different way to create what you want. And it's by starting to really embody and step into the identity of the person who already has your goal accomplished and your vision achieved. And how does she think? How does she act? How does she speak? How does she walk? What is her time spent on, right? Is she worrying about where clients are going to come from, where opportunities are going to come from? Or is she busy, planning the expansion of her brand, planning the expansion of her company, planning how she's going to serve all of these clients now that they're here, planning on what hires do I need to make? What team do I need to bring in to help support? What investments am I going to be making that are strategic next level investments? And then acting as if. But it all starts with the story that you tell, and really deciding that right now in this moment, if you've been telling the story of your past, and you notice now, oh my gosh, I keep recreating my past. Maybe it's, I had this one experience with this one boyfriend years ago, and I kept talking about it and kept, it was emotionally impactful. But now I realize I've been dating that same guy again and again and again, just in different men's bodies, right? Like we do this, we repeat the same thing through different people in different scenarios again and again, until we decide that that's not going to be our story anymore. So your next step, if you want to create a new story, is actually map out, like, what's the story you want to tell? I did this the other morning and it was so fun because I'm generally pretty clear on my vision, but it was really fun to get even more into detail about it and be like, okay, within 6 months, what do I want to have say? Wow, language and grammar. That was not grammar. What do I want to say has happened in my life? What's the story I want to be able to tell? And then what would it look like to start telling that story now? And I will say with this too, when you're early on in the creation stage of something, my experience has been you generally don't want to like talk about it a lot. So I'm not saying you're even going and like telling the story to other people, but you're also not going to be talking about your past either. So you'll probably find you feel like you kind of just want to be quiet when you're in the creation, like true creation mode of things. That's been my experience. But what's the story you're telling to yourself? What's the story that you're thinking about? What are what's consuming your mind? What are you thinking about first thing when you wake up? Is it past, or is it what you're creating that day? Do you feel like you're living in your future now before it's happened? Because when you can do that, and when you can do that consistently and reattach to that vision every day, starting off with your morning meditation, then going, throughout the day, how does this version of me act? How does she walk? How does she talk? Playing with that, it gets really exciting really fast. And you will find that opportunities, circumstances, things that feel like coincidences, synchronicities, et cetera, they come around you. They show up in your life because you were literally emanating out that energy that this is my reality. This is who I am. And so this is the way to create powerfully. This is the way to create the quantum leap. This is the way to, if you're not thrilled with your reality right now, if you want to shift some things in a big way in like 1 to 3 to maybe 6 months max, like start doing this. Tell the story of your future as if it was already here now. Notice when you're telling the story of your past and just drop it. Just drop it. It's blocking you from what you want. So play with that, have fun with that. As always, I'm at Elise Archer on all social. So tag me. I'd really love to hear, like, what are you going to shift and how you talk? What are you going to shift in the story you tell? Because this is something I've been just having a lot of fun playing with lately and practicing. And it really is a game changer. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Go check out another. I mean, we got daily episodes now, so we got a lot for you to go through. So I hope you'll go listen to or watch another episode right now. And I will see you on our next episode of She Sells Radio.